Anna, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me and to give a shout out to TechTour and Europe Unlimited on the event of the 25th anniversary. And I'm just curious, how long ago did you get involved with TechTour and Europe Unlimited? And kind of what was it like back then? What was your impression of these guys back then?
Well, I think I might have been on one of the earliest tech tours that went to Ireland um, when Sven started them.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not have been the very first, but it was in the early two or three. Amadeus is also 25 years old. We started in 97. We beat them by a year. But I remember thinking what a great idea it was. And I think we participated in selecting a few companies. And then it was small and it was intimate, but it was really high quality. And um, it was general at the time
Mm-hmm.
because I hadn't by that time grown to all the streams of activities. But it was a great way to meet fellow venture capitalists. We were all just starting the ecosystem, really, and that we would potentially co-invest together outside of our own borders. And this was the huge thing that it did. It made people mobile across Europe. And and then it also introduced really high quality companies to investors in a curated way, which the founders thoroughly enjoyed. So it was sort of it helped integrate the whole European ecosystem in a way that had not been done before,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then obviously it grew and grew and grew, and all the various streams evolved, and then eventually TechTour growth evolved, and then I've been heavily involved in TechTour growth over probably the last 10 years in terms of helping to select the winners and be on the selection panel and go to their events and I think they have brought a focus on the growth agenda, which I firmly believe in, not just the startup agenda, that has been vital to Europe because Europe still lacks capital in that area. Um, William, I probably met more through when I was involved with Invest Europe, which was EVCA,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked a lot about the policy issues that we needed to lobby for in Brussels
Mm-hmm.
and how we could work together on those issues. And when I was very active in Brussels, which was from sort of '05 to 15, um, we would compare notes and try and make sure that we were aligned and not treading on each other's toes. And that actually was a very positive relationship as well, but in an entirely different policy oriented way.
Mm-hmm.
And when the two combined, I think it was great because you need events and activities is actually it's a combination of creating the community but also generating income, which helps the policy agenda because the policy agenda can't be funded just through memberships. It needs more than that. People can't afford enough to, but they will pay for value added activities like the tours and the events. So I think it's been a great combination, and I've thoroughly enjoyed being part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm particularly grateful that, ironically, that we still get invited as part of it because it wasn't certainly my vote that got us to leave the EU, but that has damaged a lot of relations at the political level. And to be still strong at the entrepreneurial and collaborative level of everything that we're doing together makes a hell of a lot of difference, and it makes
Yeah.
sense too.
It does. It really does make sense. I'm just curious on how you see the current situation in Europe right now. It's changing, and yet, what kind of a future do you see for a company like TechTour and for some of the companies that are part of this ecosystem? that's both here in Europe and changing as it's going forward.
Well, in what way do you see it changing?
I, in talking to some of the other people, in talking to some of the other participants and people who are heavily involved, I think one of the things that has come up is that there's an increased level of collaboration. You mentioned this, you're saying at that time it wasn't as common 20, 25 years ago. It seems as if there's even a greater emphasis on that. So I'm curious if you see that same thing in change, or maybe you don't see it as changing, that it's fairly stable.
No, I no, I hope it's continuing, but I see it more as growth. I
Yeah,
think there was always
yeah.
collaboration. I mean, there were a whole series of funds, Early Bird in Germany, Sofinova, ourselves.
Mm,
We we all worked together when we could,
mhm,
um, and we all knew each other. So we were just a small universe. It's a much bigger universe now,
mm,
and the new entrants need to collaborate. But I don't see that as uh, a change. I'm just very grateful that it's continuing.
mm,
Um, and if I think there's a change, I think the change is that we all need to be more ambitious
mm,
and grow bigger companies.
mhm,
And that I'm glad to see that's happening on the continent as well as here, in terms of the whole focus not on unicorns for unicorn's sake, but for growing the leadership and the wealth in our own communities, so that basically the next generation can spin out and do it all again. And there's
mm,
skills to draw on and mentors to draw on. Our selling companies too early has all kinds of knock-on consequences that we really, really don't understand until you've worked in the US ecosystem and you see how valuable it is to have
mm,
executives who've grown really big companies mentor the next generation.
mm. Well, that growth is really exciting, and thank you for sharing that. As just a final question here, or at least opportunity for you to shout out, and would you like to make a wish to or a greeting to William and Sven and the whole Tech Tour team? And you've got the party balloons behind you. That was so lovely of you to put those up just for the Tech Tour
Yes,
people.
yes.
But is there
Well,
something you would like to say on?
there's a variety of birthdays being celebrated here. Amadeus's was last year, and mine was just a week ago. So that's why we've still got the party balloons up. And my Ukrainians, yellow and blue.
Nice.
That's what we're celebrating, them being safe, frankly.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I just that they figure out exactly the same thing that I figure out, which is how to transition it to the next generation,
Mm,
um,
mm,
and and see that continue on for the next 25 years. I
yeah.
mean, it's a I don't know of anything equivalent in Asia or even America. I mean, there's plenty of events and local community, but I don't know of anything that's so effective at bringing a community together from all over a region, all over the world in some ways,
Mhm,
to focus on a particular segment for a moment in time. So I think something special was created, and I think the voice of that group in policy is really important in Brussels. So I wish that they continue success, basically.